Hello and welcome to Talking Hearthstone. I'm Tito Santana. This is episode 7. Splish, Splash, Whelp, say that 3 times fast, is banned. It was coming. There had to be a change to Druid. I was a little worried that we weren't going to see a change to Druid. It's been in about 40 or 50% of the games that I've played, and I've played a lot of games, and I am not an abnormality here. Druid was everywhere. It was meta warping, and you had to either try to get under it or play it. And that was not really fun. They had to make an adjustment. This is kind of a good adjustment because while Splish Splash Whelp was probably the best card in the deck, it wasn't what drew people to play the deck. It's not like the card that you're like, oh, I can't wait to play Splish Splash Whelp. People wanted to play Marlin. People wanted to play Dorian. Splish Splash Whelp enabled them to play it faster, and that's what got us here. So I'm glad they did what they did. I'm not looking forward to. I don't want them to kill every deck that's good. I want them to kind of take a measured approach to this in the future, and I'm hoping that we can find a balance of nerfing cards that are outliers, but also while keeping decks that are fun and different still viable. I don't like when neutral cards, and this is a little bit of a tangent here. I don't like when the neutral card win conditions are what we see all the time because you have something like Sire Denathrius or Astalar, Reno Jackson that you see over and over again, no matter what deck you're playing against. Those are the kind of things that I kind of hope they shy away from. Because if a deck is good and there's an interesting win condition or it beats you in a certain way, and the next deck you play is a different way to win, and there's a lot more variety out there, I think that's kind of where the meta is fun. Now, when you have a nice balanced meta like that, where there's lots of different decks and people are playing different things, that makes it harder to climb, at least in my opinion, because you can't kind of take advantage of the matchups that you're finding and really kind of expose something that you see. And if you're seeing a lot of Druid and you have a good deck that can get under it, you can kind of farm it to get ranks easier. That's a lot harder to do when you have a variety of decks you can play in a meta. But I still think it's better when it's more balanced. It's more fun when it's more balanced, and you have different win conditions. So Splish Splash Whelp will be back. If you're a Druid enjoyer, you'll be able to play with it again. If you are a Druid enjoyer, shame on you. I'm just kidding. You gotta like what you like. If you have fun playing with your playing, no one should ever tell you that you shouldn't play a deck. If you like it, play it. If it's there, have fun. That's what card games are about. It's about having fun, and they will make changes if your deck needs to come in line. So take advantage of it while you can. Enjoy it. So for me, the climb has been a little difficult. I have been mostly playing Haywire Rogue, although I'm starting to sprinkle in a little bit more of the Buff Paladin we're going to talk about today. And I also played I played a little bit of Painlock at first, and that's a fun deck too, but I've been having a hard time finding the deck that's really kind of getting me there. And I've been doing the dance where you go from the D5 floor to D2 to D3 to D2 to D4. Now I'm probably right around D4. And this happens to everybody. And it gets frustrating when you're there. But don't feel like you are alone in that you're struggling at whatever rank bracket you're at to get to the next level. This happens. It's one of those things, and we'll talk about things around this in the future as far as like tilt and evaluating the meta and whatnot. But I want you to know that it happens to me. It happens to everybody, except maybe like Pocket Train or Ron Mexico or No Hands Gamer or whoever. Probably doesn't happen to them that often, but it does happen to most people. So when it happens to you, you're not alone. Just remember that. So let's talk about the new Paladin cards that are from Perils in Paradise. The Piece de Resistance is a card called Sandcastle. It's spelled a little differently. It's a little spelled like elementals, but it is Sandcastle, and this is a 5-mana 3/8 with Rush. When it attacks, after it attacks, turn this into a location. That location is then a 5-mana 8 durability location. Yes, 8 durability. That has an ability of give a friendly minion +3 attack and rush, then turn back into a minion. So, I don't think I think once you turn back into a location for the second time, that location will be closed. There's no reopen ability here. It's going to work a lot like Ramonia, where Ramonia was like a minion, then a weapon, then a minion, then a weapon, but then you couldn't attack again unless for some reason you had Wind Fury. So it's going to be a lot similar to that. The nice thing about Sandcastle is it can get buffed. So if Sandcastle as a minion is a 10-10, then when it turns into a location, it is going to be a 10-10. Well, it'll probably lose durability because you ran it into something. What that means is that when you use this ability, it's not giving +3 attack, it's giving +10 attack, or whatever the attack of Sandcastle was. So what I envision here is putting this into, say, Buff Paladin, where you buff it up, you play it, you run that into a taunt minion in your way, it turns into a location. You play out your South Sea Deckhand, you buff your South Sea Deckhand, then the Sandcastle turns back into a minion, you run that back into any other taunts that might be in your way, and then you send that Deckhand or whatnot face. I mean, it seems like it's going to be a lot of fun. It seems it's going to slot right in there. It's probably also going to slot into some of the newer decks that we're going to see. The Tourist is Sunsapper Linessa. It's a rogue tourist. She's a 5-mana 2/6. Your spells that cost 2 or less cast twice. This will be important. This pairs very nicely with the Drink for Pally, which is Divine Brew. It's a 1-mana spell that reads, give a character Divine Shield. If it already has one, give it +1. So Linessa is going to essentially allow that spell to cast a Divine Shield and give a minion +1 at the same time. Now, you can also use something like Holy Glowstick when it's reduced to 1. That's less than 2. It's going to cast twice. So you get some use out of that. I think we were setting that Holy Glowstick up from the mini set for this particular expansion. I think it's going to be fun. It also kind of works with the theming. It is also going to work. Linessa is also going to work very well with Sunscreen. Sunscreen is the new Paladin token spell, which is gives a minion +1/+2. So when you have Linessa on board, these sunscreens are going to cast twice. How do you get sunscreens? There's an aura that you have. It's a 1-mana aura called Life Saving Aura, which is a 1-mana at the end of your turn. Get a sunscreen for 3 turns. And you also have the weapon of Volleyball, which is a 3-mana 3/2 weapon that gives you a sunscreen after you attack. Sea Shanty is a 10-mana spell for Paladin that summons 3 5/5 pirates. Now, 3 5/5 pirates for 10 mana is not very exciting. It doesn't seem like it's going to do a lot. But this spell costs 1 less for each spell cast on a character this game. And remember, when you cast with Linessa, the effect's not doubled, the spell is cast twice. So every time you cast a sunscreen with Linessa on board, you are getting 2 cost reduction on Sea Shanty. So I think that's going to work out very nicely. I think we're going to see some of that because I think a 10 mana summon 3 5/5 pirates, not good. 4 mana summon 3 5/5 pirates, that sounds a lot better. I'm not sure why we kind of are pairing pirates and sunscreen. It's not really something I put together except for the beach, but whatever, we'll take it. Also remember that Mage will Tourist into Paladin. So that means they are getting Sea Shanty, which means they are also going to have the opportunity to get 3 5/5 pirates, and they are not necessarily cheating they're not targeting things as much as we are. Remember, target characters for this. Excuse me. Let me back up a little bit here. For Sea Shanty, it costs 1 less for each spell cast on a character. This means your opponent. This means your face. This means minions. So you're going to be able to discount this by sending damage face. It's going to be nice. But with Mage, they have some big spell synergy. So I think we're still going to see Sea Shanty in a Mage deck at some point, but I think it's going to be a little different, played a little differently than trying to get it reduced down to, free or 0 or 1 or 2 or 3, whatever it might be. The final card I want to talk about is Grill Master. I'm surprised it's not Grill Master, but it's a 4-mana 3/4 with Battle Cry. Draw your lowest cost minion. Death Rattle. Draw your highest cost minion. I'm sure that somebody is going to figure out a way to break this. It's Order in the Court. We just take advantage of that. I know somebody will figure it out. I'm sure we'll see some Jean-Bray decks that do weird things with this, but I'm very excited about all these cards. So let's wrap up our talk today with a game of Handbuff Paladin. So the key cards in this deck are Painter's Virtue. You got Leroy, you got Outfit Tailors, you got your Southsea Deckhands, and you got your Tigress Plushies. Now, what you want to do is you want to mulligan, for the most part, you want to mulligan for your weapon or your instrument tech that's going to draw you your weapon. You draw an instrument tech, you can throw that weapon away because you're going to get it back when you play your instrument tech. Now, the exception to the mulligan rule is if you know you're playing against a slow deck, especially one that's going to play Reno, you might want to think about keeping your Leroy and your Outfit Tailors in your hand because you want to buff them up as much as possible. Because once they get your board cleared and you get to that point of the game, it's really going to be hard to kind of finish pushing damage to their face. And if you happen to have 18 to 20 to 25 damage from hand charge damage, that makes a difference. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But for the most part, you just want to try to get your weapon. You want to make sure you have your weapon online. If you happen to have two weapons, it's not the worst thing. I would still toss back one on your mulligan. But when you start seeing the Vipers and you play your Painters and they Viper it and you play your Painters the next turn, that feels pretty good. One thing I would mention on this is if you are playing against a control deck, and I know you want to take advantage of your mana, if you are suspecting that they might be playing a Viper the next turn for your second weapon, I usually try to avoid playing the weapon after my first one breaks unless I definitely can swing with it, because it feels really bad when you play that second weapon and then they follow it up right with the Viper and you get no value out of that. So just a little food for thought there. I'm going to try something a little different today. I'm going to pre-record a game and then I'm going to try to stop and start and talk through it. Because, I got some feedback that while it's great that I am reporting the game state, and one thing some people are looking for is to actually get a little more understanding of why I'm making the choices. And we do a little bit of that live, but if we can stop and kind of evaluate and talk through things a little slower, people thought that might be fun. And I think that could be fun too. I just got to figure out how to technically do it in a way that makes sense. All right. Let's go ahead and play a game here of Buff Paladin. I actually played 2 games and recorded them because they went fairly quickly, and I think we could talk about both of them. Let's see how it goes. Hoping the audio levels are good. I've actually done this voiceover a couple times because of various different things that have happened. Yeah. So our opponent is a rogue. Our anomaly is the first minion on each player's turn costs 1 less. That's really good for us given the deck that we are playing. We drew an Omelia, a Gold Panna, a Marlin, and the Righteous Protector. So I want to talk about the Righteous Protector for a second. This is normally a automatic snap keep in a lot of Paladin decks, but not for us. If we're playing something aggressive where we know we're going to have to stave off something early, like a Hunter or maybe like a Painlock or something like that, yes, we'll keep Protector. But ideally, we want to find our weapon and we want to buff our Protector before we play it. So we're going to toss this whole thing, and let's go ahead and pick up. They had a full mulligan as well. We picked up Toy Captain Terum, Yogg Saron, Ziliax Deluxe 3000. Our Ziliax is at the start of your turn, double this minion's attack, battle cry, summon a copy of this. Outfit Tailor, which is wonderful. So I want you to picture something here. I want you to think about what you would do with this hand. It's not great, right? It's not really what you want to start, but stay with me for a second. We have the coin and we have the anomaly that the first minion we play on each turn costs 1 less. So this speaks to me as a turn 4 Ziliax. 2 4/6s at double attack on turn 4. That seems pretty good. So that's our goal right here, is we want to get to it. So we get the coin. On turn 1, they play Kobold Miner. Thank you, Anomaly. On our turn 1, all right, so we draw a Grime Street Outfitter. Now, Grime Street Outfitter is a good card. It's an interesting card because In this deck, you want to buff the things you want to buff. You want to buff your outfit tailors. You want to buff your plushies. You want to buff Leroy. You want to buff, the deckhands. I usually want to make sure at least I have something in my hand to buff or something good to buff. Now, in this particular case, I have Ziliax, and I'm planning on playing Ziliax on 4. So if I can buff him, great. Now, you also got to remember that even if you don't have a lot of things to buff in hand, depending on what you're facing, tempo good. Tempo always good. So you might want to play these cards even if your hand is not optimal for buffing, because you still want to buff what you have and you still want to contest for board and you still want to provide threats. So in this case, we are going to play Grime Street Outfitter pretty much right away. Thought about it for a half second, but yeah, we played it pretty much right away. So it's now turn 2 for the Rogue. They're going to heal their face with their Water Sauce just to draw a card. And they played Greedy Partner. They got a coin out of that, and they swing face with the Kobold. So we drew Amethyst, which we're hopefully not going to get to. Now, I run my 2-1 into their 1-1. Ideally, I would just go face, but for 2 reasons you want to clear the Kobold, in my opinion. 1, Rogue Shenanigans. They can bounce it, they can play it again, they can further their excavate plan. But 2, I'm planning on next turn playing my Ziliax, the turn after playing my Ziliax. So I want as little on the board as possible. I want to protect them, and by protecting them now, by clearing extra minions, it's going to help me. So they're thinking about their turn. They're going to dagger, and they're going to run their dagger into my 2-1, and they're going to clear my soldier. I believe I mentioned that I hit the hero power. If I didn't, I'm sorry, I missed that. So in this case, I drew an Audiomedic. Now, the Audiomedic costs 1 because of the anomaly. So I hero powered and played the Audiomedic. The reason why I did this is because I want to clear their 2-2 again because I want to protect my Ziliax. And I want to have lifesteal because why not? I don't really have anything else to play on this turn. So hero power, Audiomedic felt like the right play. So now they're gonna do something interesting here. They're gonna play Sandbox Scoundrel, and then they're gonna play Frequency Oscillator. Now the reason why I find that interesting is the Oscillator isn't really a card that you need to discount. It's a 1-mana card. I think what they're planning is, in whatever they have in their hand, is they're trying to set up for some kind of Sonya shenanigans where they can play Sonya, play the miniature of the Sandbox Scoundrel, play some other cards, play it again, or something. They're planning on doing something with the 1-mana minion versus whatever. So I think that's what they're doing. So we're happy with this. So now we're seeing it coming up on turn 4. We're anxiously highlighting over our Ziliax because we cannot wait to play it. So they swing into my Audiomedic with their dagger, and then they pass the turn. So we're not hesitating. We're going to coin out that Ziliax. We're going to run our soldier into their 2-1. So now they have a 4-3 on board. We have a 5-7 and a 5-7. They're both are going to double their attack, and they have to deal with this. Good luck. So they're thinking about it now. And they are going to play Blackrock Shovel. And then they're going to weapon to trigger the death rattle because they're looking for anything. They play Falling Stalactite onto one of the Ziliaxes, and they run the Sandbox Scoundrel into it. And that leaves me with a 10-7, and that makes them leave the game because I don't think they really had much they were going to do. So this was kind of an interesting game where we didn't hit our game plan. We didn't really buff. We buffed once. We didn't get our weapon, but we took advantage of the anomaly and got the victory. Right, here we are going into game 2. See what happens with this one. I think this game goes on a little bit longer. That last one ended it really quick and in a really positive method for us. So we're playing against a Demon Hunter. Demon Hunter is kind of a bane for us. We really hate Reska. We hate multiple Reskas because we like to go tall, we like to go big, and they like to steal our big things. We've also been seeing a lot of like Excavate Plague Death Knight right now. So, I mean, it's not the worst thing to see, but I'm usually not thrilled to see it. Our anomaly, I have to go back and check that. is the first minion on each turn costs 1 less again. All right, so our mulligan is Painter's Virtue, Audiomedic, Leroy Jenkins, and Muscletron. Now, we have the Painter's Virtue, so problem solved. That's our first important thing. So then it's like, what do we do with the rest of these? Audiomedic might be a keep, but I don't feel like that's really what we want to do against a Death Knight. They go slow enough where I don't think we're going to have to get some early healing right away. Leroy is an interesting keep because you want to be able to get damage. You want to be able to buff him as much as possible. And Muscletron is also a pretty interesting keep because you can forge it, you can play it, you have a lot of opportunities here. I did toss Leroy. I'm kind of regretting that I did. I'm looking it back now. I probably should have kept Leroy because we probably want to push that damage. We want to get him big as possible. So after our mulligan, we now have 2 Painter's Virtues. So, okay, so nice, but that then makes our instrument text kind of useless, although not always. Toy Captain Tarum and Muscletron. So our minions cost 1 less. Now, we don't have a lot of minions in hand to buff yet. But we have our weapon, so the minions will come. So turn 1, they pass. We just drew a South Sea Deckhand. We're not going to coin out anything, so we're just going to pass a turn. Now, a lot of times you might want to tempo minions, but South Sea Deckhand in this deck is one that doesn't really count because it's kind of a bomb for us. So turn 2, we could play Muscletron. We can forge Muscletron. Turn 3, we are likely going to, we're already knowing on turn 3, we're going to coin Painters. Like, that is almost a foregone conclusion. Usually I try to think of more than one line, but in this case, we already know what we're doing. So I forged the Muscletron and pass a turn. If I had more in my hand, maybe I would just play it without the forge, especially since I can play it on turn 2, but I want to get value out of here. And I'm going to wait. Given that I'm going to coin out a weapon next turn, that's going to give me 2 draws. Before I have to play the Muscletron, so I'll get more buff. They played Helia. We drew an instrument tech. Again, useless. But we coin out the Painters and go face. So they're at 28 health. We're at 30. They have a 4/4 Helia. We have 3 plays in our deck. Right now, we have a Painters, a Tarum, a Forge Muscletron, a South Sea Deckhand, an Audiomedic, and an instrument tech. They're going to reap what they sow to my face. Fine. And they're going to Fool's Azurite. And find something from that. Solid play. And play a 0 mana Miracle Salesman, and then a Stereo Totem. I do not like seeing that totem, because we don't want them buffing. They got the totem off of the Fool's Azurite. So we just drew a Righteous Protector. I am now worried about that Stereo Totem. Maybe more so than I should be, but I think I have a solution for it. I'm going to swing into the 2/2, the Miracle Salesman, and now I'm going to play Muscletron. My Muscletron is now a 4/6. I'm going to then, even though it's early, I'm going to rush my Audiomedic out there at 6/7, and I'm going to run that into a 0/3. It's got Lifesteal. I'm at 29 health. We're feeling pretty good about this. So we have 12 damage on board. They have 4. They're at 28 health. We're at 29. We have 1 more swing of our weapon, but we also have another weapon in hand, so we're feeling pretty good. They play Runes of Darkness. One thing we really hate against Mage and against Death Knight is having our faces frozen, because we want to swing with our weapon. They run Helia into my Audiomedic, and then they Frost Strike it. So we're now at 30 health still. We have a 4/6 on board. Their board is empty, and they have 28 health. They now play Staff of the Primus, which is a 2/4 weapon. They trade their Snake Oil, and now is our turn. Nope, I'm sorry, they swing first, and now it is our turn. There's another Plague. So I'm looking at my hand here. I just drew another Grime Street Outfitter. Well, the first Grime Street Outfitter. The last one was from the previous game. I'm going to swing with the weapon. Always try to remember to swing with the weapon first, unless you're playing South Sea Deckhand and you only have 1 durability left on the weapon. I'm going to play the Grime Street Outfitter. Let's get things buffed. I have 4 mana left. And I'm just going to play this instrument tech out, I believe, because this is a 7/8 instrument tech. Like I said, it's useless, but a 2 mana 7/8 is pretty good. I'm going to play out the Protector, and I'm going to pass a turn. So right now we have a 3/3, a 4/6, a 7/8, and a 6/6 Taunt with Divine Shield. We're at 30 health. They're at 22 health. We're feeling okay. We have a weapon in hand, we have a South Sea deck in hand, we have a toy Captain Term in hand. We like all of these things. We want to become a problem for them early. That's really what we want to do, because the longer they go in the game, the more control-y tools they have. They have their Titan, the Primus. They have Reska. Reska just drives me nuts when I play this deck. I always forget to plan around it. You think I'd be better at it by now, but I'm not. So they run their Ghoul into my Divine Shield, and then they play out Burrowbuster and run that into Divine Shield, swing at my face, giving me another Plague. I now have 14 damage on board. I'm doing math right here. And you know what? I'm just going to Painter's Virtue. Yep. I think we have lethal because we have an 8-7 Southie deck in hand. That's going to be 9-8. So we play our Painters. We swing face. We play out the deckhand, and we ship all our damage to the face. And it is 3 more damage than we needed. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. You can follow me on Twitter and Twitch at Tito Santana HS. If you are listening to this today on July 9th, you can tune into my stream, Tito Santana HS, on twitch.tv, and you will be able to see me do some co-op with Draco Cat, the demon hunter extraordinaire, who has been on a hiatus from Hearthstone while he's been playing some Warcraft and doing some other things, so it'll be a nice opportunity to see him again. It's been a while. But anyway, guys, I'm done talking. Have a great day.